Gamers everywhere, from Almond Gold to Janini, are claiming that Elden Ring is a bad game. The weapons are unbalanced, mechanics are trash, and the PvP is absolutely unbearable. Hi, my name is Rust. I'm an Elden Ring content creator with an emphasis on PvP. In this video, I'm going to be showing you why yes, you, are wrong. You see, Elden Ring isn't a PvP game at all. It's a farming simulator. And today, I'm going to teach you about fishing. Yep, fishing. Fish are an incredibly nutritious food source, offering omega-3s into your diet and a great deal of protein to keep you good and strong. But catching fish in Elden Ring isn't easy. They like to wiggle their way off your hook, so I'm going to show you a few tips and techniques to help you secure your catch. No tricks. These are proven concepts, and I'll be showcasing live gameplay to show you an application of these principles. Before we get started, I just want to offer a quick special mention to Project Goof and A Book of Matches. These are two legendary content creators that have found their roots long before myself, and I learned a lot of what I know about fishing from them and their videos. Please go check them out. And I also want to thank Striker Hatasa for helping to record the clips for the tutorial section. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments if you found the video helpful at all, or what I can do to improve in the future. The way fishing works in Elden Ring is a two-sided confirmation and two types of checks, a spatial check and a direction check. The spatial check measures the distance between you and the fish, and this is checked on both sides of the connection. Both sides need to see the grab happen while the fish stays within the grab box. If the fish moves out of the grab box, the grab will fail. The direction check is only client side and is confirmed if the fish is facing away from you by over 90 degrees in either direction. Because this check is only client side, if the fish spins and faces the fisherman, but the fisherman sees the grab connect before the fish spins on their screen, the fish may experience a bizarre 180-degree turn where they get sucked back into the grab. In Elden Ring, the grab confirm is 7 frames, but turning 90 degrees only takes 4 frames. If they aren't able to pivot to face you, or move out of the grab box by the time the grab connects, the grab is successful. The grab box is about the size you see here, with borderings of false grab boxes surrounding it on all sides. You can sit inside of the false grab box and consistently cue a grab that will never connect. The grab box itself is roughly arm's length wide of a player and about half as long. It's a popular theory that crouching before going for a backstab has a higher confirm rate, but I have no exact data to support this, only testimony. I can confirm though that the grab frames are still the same regardless of position. First and foremost, before you begin fishing, you have to have a good read on your latency to your opponent. If the water is too tumultuous, then there won't be much of anything that you can do to safely get a bite, so this step is important. You can start by trying to get a few nibbles and testing out the speed of your connection to see if it's reasonable. Keep in mind, even in dire straits, you can still land a bite, but your positioning and timing needs to be executed with respect to your connection. So if you have 200 milliseconds of latency, then you need to go for the grab 200 milliseconds earlier than you would expect to be able to get the bite. Now, lag is different than latency, and if somebody drops packets as you get the grab confirmed, then they may suddenly spring back into the backstab even if they've moved sufficiently away from it. So at the end of the day, is the risk versus reward really worth it? Well, obviously, because otherwise you'd think that you were playing an unfun, unbalanced PvP game. But remember, this is a farming sim. If you can land a fish for free, go for it. But more often than not, if someone is playing optimally, there's very little chance that you're going to set good enough bait for them, and risk a backstab whiff that leaves you vulnerable to a counter backstab of their own, or just a crazy amount of damage while you're locked on to a very long, painful whiff animation. Attacks with high root motion or long animations can be reliably strafed for a backstab even on a poor connection. It mostly just comes down to understanding the latency of your connection and relying on your opponent to be overly aggressive and make the obvious play. But it also requires good positioning. For example, with the HCS running R2, the attack is fairly easy to strafe even on bad latency if you start your strafe preemptively. But these attacks with such high root motion have very poor rotational tracking. If you move in closer to your opponent, then the attack can't rotate fast enough to keep up with you. With any strafe, your timing needs to be tight enough that you end up standing right behind the person by the time their animation is coming to an end, so that you can safely get your grab without them being able to roll away. Each weapon and each attack of a moveset has a unique way to strafe the attack. It just takes practice to figure it out. A pivot backstab is exactly what it sounds like, and is a cherished DS3 classic. The base concept of this grab is a pivot cancel into an R1. This is easiest to do with a block cancel to stop your character from pivoting out of a sprint. The general idea is to run past your opponent and stand just within the grab box, canceling your pivot with blocking and getting your grab. The most important principle about this type of grab is momentum. Basically, if your opponent is walking or just standing still, then you want to be sprinting. If your opponent is chasing or sprinting after you, then you want to walk. The reason for this is once again due to latency. You have to remember that you're watching a shadow of your opponent's past, not their actual position or action. Since the grab has two-sided confirmation on position, you have to go for the grab with respect to where the opponent will be given your connection. A ravioli backstab is a fancy little trick that lets you do effectively what a pivot backstab does, but a little bit faster. It's simply a reverse backstep behind the opponent, but it's a very risky maneuver to pull off. But it can generally be a good way to backstab if you have corner pressure, where you're expecting the opponent to roll into you. A poise backstab is based on the same concept as a pivot backstab, but in this case, you're eating the attack in order to get an earlier grab on the opponent while they're still recovering from their attack. Ashes of War, like Endure, make this a piece of cake, but you're sacrificing a bit of your health in the process to get an early grab here, and any intelligent fish won't try and mash into someone who's just used Endure. But you can catch a few small fries here and there. A roll backstab is probably the most common type of backstab, but it is easily the most unreliable. Certain Ashes of War or jump attacks have a long recovery window for you to be able to get the grab on them. But for the most part, a roll backstab is only going to work if your opponent is either stamina starved or if they start another animation that has a long enough window for you to be able to get the grab before they can pivot to face you. But the general principle of this type of grab is that you need to roll early enough that you're not receiving a phantom hit, because that means that you'll be standing behind the opponent while they're still in the recovery, and you need to be unlocked from your opponent. Unlocking allows you to pivot from your roll to face them, whereas if you remain locked on, your character will pivot slower, costing you precious frames. This whole video was inspired by some guy in my older videos that made a comment in response to my reverse quickstep video. And you know what? He was right. RQS backstabs have a bizarre interaction where the grab buffers prior to being finished with the quickstep animation, allowing you to get a much more reliable and nearly unavoidable grab. It requires very little intelligent spacing and understanding the mechanic, and punishes heavier weapon classes for simply existing. That being said, the execution is simple. Be locked on, input the direction down, followed by the quickstep, followed by unlocked. It takes some practice to get used to, but once you have it down, it's free. This is less fishing and more like poaching, and it can be fun if both sides agree to it, but I generally wouldn't endorse it. Elden Ring can be a very repetitive and boring game if you let it, but changing your playstyle and trying different things that may not necessarily be optimal can give you a different perspective on the game you're playing. That does it for the voiceover segment of the video. From here on out, I'll be showcasing the application of these different fishing techniques. Once again, I encourage you to go check out Project Goof and a book of matches. Enjoy the rest of the video.